something's going on. I am not ever going to try to, I don't think, to try to convert you, to try to evangelize to you. That is not my deal. How did a physicist become a Christian? How did an atheist become a follower of Jesus? Because I wouldn't give away my knowledge. I wasn't ready to drop off what I knew. But let me tell you what happened. I was I hated church when I was a child. I was forced to go to it. They attempted to indoctrinate me, and I thought I was too smart for that. Actually, I'm still too smart for indoctrination. And as I got older, I went to church. I spent some time with my friends at church, and I really liked it. But it all fell away because I didn't really believe any of that. I went into the military. Got out when I was 22. Fast forward to me being 40. I'd been studying physics and math in university for 7 years. And I was about to graduate at this time. And I got scared. I was working downtown at a software company and was driving down one day, and I just thought, I what if I died? Am I going to go to hell? Do I even believe in hell? I didn't know what to think of it. I I had coincidentally thought about becoming a Christian. I didn't believe anything. In fact, I tried to read the Bible, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It was ridiculous. I tried watching Charles Stanley, a pastor who had just recently died, on television. He was a good guy. He wasn't a televangelist or anything like that. And watched about a minute before I had to turn it off. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. But probably due to that, I was thinking about hell, and I started thinking about it. I got worried. This is when I was 40. This was 22 years ago. On 2 weeks, I'll be 62. I got afraid, and long story short, I I I knew you had to believe in the resurrection, that Jesus died and came back to life, and that was really the key. And I didn't believe in Jesus. I didn't believe in God. I certainly didn't believe that Jesus came back to life. No, nobody comes back to life, right? Time went on. 3 days went on, and I got more and more worried. And I thought, I'm talking to God by this chance, by this time. I'm saying, God, if you're really there, and that sort of thing. And I said, I'm talking to God in my car in a parking lot at work, about to go into work. And I thought, I know that I know you got to believe. And I knew from my childhood, apparently, I know you got to believe that Jesus came back to life. And I'm just not buying that. I don't believe that. But if it's true, you can make me believe. And right then I thought about the disciples and about them. Again, long story short, I came to believe. And at that moment, I changed. I did what is called repentance. Having been a Christian now for 22 years, I know a little bit of the lingo. I, Repentance came upon me. Repentance is not something you do. It's not you stopping sinning. It's you not wanting to disappoint God. You want to be on the same page as God. And I was all of a sudden. And I was saved. I was a totally different person. I just wasn't the same anymore. I wasn't worried. I wanted to please God. And there you go. I was saved. I was a Christian. Time went on. If this was all it was, I would have thought, yeah, you just had a bad day. But that wasn't all that it was. There were so many things. I became it's not a sign of anything, but I became a deacon in the church that my wife and I started going to. And I was over the hospital ministry, and I went to visit people in the hospital. I was in the hospital about 3 or 4 times a week for 6 years. My aunt, my favorite person in the world, other than my sister, my aunt was sick, and she was in the hospital. She was in the hospital for a long time, for months. And I my mom said you need to go see your aunt. She's in really bad shape. And I thought, Aunt Barbara's a Christian. I'll run into her at that Christian sort of thing. And just, and the time went on, weeks and weeks and weeks, and I wasn't even thinking about her. I just didn't think about her until one day, one Saturday, and I did think about her a lot. And I thought, you, I need to go see my Aunt Barbara. I knew she was in the hospital, and I called I called my mom, and she knew which hospital it was. So I called the hospital, and sure enough, she was there. And I said, when is visiting hours over? And it was like 9 o'clock or something like that. And I live about 4.5 hours away from that hospital. I went down and found my wife, and I said, baby, I need to go to see Aunt Barbara. And she goes, yeah, we need to go get over and see her. And I said, I need to go see her today, I think. And Renee said, all right, you want to drive? I'm not going to go, but you can drive over there to Arkansas, then that's fine. I said I need to go, and I got ready, and it was taking some time to get ready, longer than I thought. And next thing you know, it's I don't remember what time of year it was, but I got on the road, and I got there right about 9 o'clock. I mean, business hours were over, and I told them who I was at the front desk, and they said, sure, go on up, go on up. So they told me where she was, and I walked up to her room and kind of tapped on the door, and didn't hear anything. And I opened the door, and my cousin was in there, another one of my favorite people. And my Aunt Barbara has two daughters, and had two daughters, and nonetheless, and one of my cousins was there. And again, long story short, I visited with my aunt. She was she was not responsive. She was just not responsive at all. I don't know if she could hear me or not, but I spoke to her and prayed with her, and I was glad I got to see her, and glad I got to see my cousin, and that was all went well. And my dad was staying at my Aunt Barbara's house, and so I went over there and hung out with my dad, and we talked a little bit and got to sleep. It was late, and and the next morning, my cousin called the house, called my dad. My Aunt Barbara had passed away in the night. And I just thought, wow, I suddenly needed to go, and I went, and I truly had to go right then. She passed away a couple of hours after I left her room. Again, if the believing in Jesus and me changing, becoming a totally different person, because I was an atheist that day, and suddenly I believe that Jesus came back to life. But then the hospital thing with my aunt, and then the hospital thing, the same thing with somebody else. And being in the hospital 3 or 4 times a week, I started to see things that just, it was it was more support for what I knew about Jesus. But again, fast forward to 2012, 12 years ago, and I'm sick. I'm PTSD really bad, and it's affecting my physical health. And I had to get out of the church. 2016, Donald Trump was elected, and I just really disenchanted. And I find that atheists know more about the Bible than most Christians, because Christians have an idea of what they believe, and that's what they believe. They'll stick with that, and they're not looking in the Bible for any other stories. Come across it, they generally don't pay attention to it. Where atheists are, not all atheists, but some atheists are digging into it. They're not wrong. They are correct. So why am I still a Christian? Because I changed that day. I went from being an atheist to believing in Jesus. I see a lot of problems in the Bible. Lots. Generally, atheists who study the Bible are not wrong, and they find problems, and they're all right. I am irritated at Christians, especially it being 2024 and Donald Trump having just been elected. I am irritated at what they voted for. Why am I still a Christian? Because I became a different person. I'd rather be an atheist. I don't like Christians. I like atheists. But I became a different person that day. And for the last 22 years, I have seen so many things that make it obvious that something's going on. I am not ever going to try to, I don't think, to try to convert you, to try to evangelize to you. That is not my deal. I'm here to say that I have a different perspective. I am an atheist. I am a Christian with an atheist perspective. I see a lot of things in the Bible that most Christians aren't seeing. They're not. They're not.